sad but true. Gregory Stevens is our next speaker. He's the founder of the Unitarian Universalist Eco-Socialist Network and an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They have a master's of divinity from Claremont School of Theology and sell their labor power to California Interfaith Power and Light. Welcome, Gregory.
Okay, so I'm going to take up more time than I was given. Sorry, Bruce. With two things, I got nervous when I started to see how many people were here. And so I had to pull out the Bible to ground myself in some sort of like scriptural background, and then I can go off. But before, I want to do I did this on Wednesday, if you were there at the Interfaith Council meeting, or Thursday, excuse me. But I'm going to do it again with something else, a call and response. I grew up a Baptist, and we used to do call and responses all the time. And Asada Shakur has this really amazing quote. So I'm going to read something, and then I want you to repeat it after me, okay? It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Amen. Okay, so this is funny. At a Unitarian church, I had to run to the library to find a Bible. I couldn't just go to the pews. And it's also not the version I want. So I'm holding the Bible and reading my phone. But it's supposed to give this allure of like scripture or something. I don't know. Now listen, you rich people. This is James. This is Jesus' brother saying this. James chapter 5. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming to you. Your wealth has rotted and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. The corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. Jesus. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. He keeps going, but that's ruthless. So what I'm about to say is less ruthless, but intense. And they don't make podiums for tall people, so excuse me if I look down too much. Philosophers have interpreted the world, but the purpose of Unitarian Universalism is to change the world. When I was growing up, my Aunt Cindy, she would take me and my cousins to a local arcade, and there was this big machine, and it said whack-a-mole, and there were about 9 holes and little clowns that lived in each hole, and when one would pop up, you would take this big, meaty Thor hammer, and you'd slap the clown back into the hole. And it was the greatest game of all time. Too often, though, in our social movement milieu, which is a word I love, especially in our UU ecosystem, the theories and strategies of resistance look more like a game of whack-a-mole rather than principled and organized resistance. Showing up to random events to whack homophobia or whack racism or whack climate change isn't ever going to get the job done. Whack-a-mole resistance misses the ways all of these issues are interlocked and inherently interconnected to the same fundamental problem, capitalism, or as I like to call it, moneyism. This type of resistance, the whack-a-mole type, also ignores the long history of anti-capitalist, pro-social, moneyism versus socialism, the pro-social workers' resistance tradition, one that has many years of experience, developed tons of theory, and has actually existing socialist projects to this day that you can reflect and learn from. Short-term immediate actions, whack-a-mole, they feel good, and they build public awareness and momentum. While strategic resistance, revolutionary organizing, channels that energy into a long-term structural change. We need long-term structural change over and above simple awareness of injustice. It's one thing to be aware, it's another to devote yourself to structural change, a much longer and all-encompassing form of struggle for a better world. I didn't know how to weave this in here with poetic language, but indigenous people talk about the actions you do today, you should think about 7 generations from now. So whatever you're doing now is going to impact 7 generations from now. So when you have an organizational form, you have the ability to hold memory of what happened 6 generations ago, 4 or 5 generations, and you can learn from that and keep that struggle going. If you just show up and whack-a-mole, you don't know who whacked the mole before you. The billionaire class is waging a war on the working class. With this new administration, the curtain is pulled back as the oligarchs force their way, bull in a china shop vibe, ruthlessly smashing the working class victory. All the victories we've made in the past since the civil rights movement have been rewritten or kicked out the window, or that's the plan. They're doing so blatantly, without shame, and they're doing it, and it's terrifying. But it distracts from the ultimate concern, the system, capitalism. It's far more important that we fight this larger system instead of wasting our time trying to fight and push back against every random stupid thing that orange clown says. Lots of people right now, for example, are scared about, or they're embarrassed that they drive a Tesla. But I have to admit, driving a different brand of car won't stop the capitalist world system. It's important to note, too, that this critique stands true with the corporatist model of capitalist leadership. Not just the warlord oligarchs. The Democrats do much of the same, but in a more refined manner. At the bare minimum, Dems recognize the need for a safety net, which is great. It's to create more efficient workers, though, and belittle our anger from revolution. It's an obvious improvement, though, so it is a contradiction to wrestle with. Trump, instead, will grab the mic and say, "Make Gaza beachfront property." And it's terrifying to think that someone would say that and say, "We're going to forcibly move you and send you to Egypt." Democrats will stand up in front of you and say, "We are working on a peace deal," where there is an entire year of no peace deal, just weapons and weapons and weapons. I often wonder what's worse. Someone who sneakily hides their genocidal actions behind progressive language and rainbow flags, or an orange psychopath that openly revels in death and destruction. I do know that nobody looks up in the sky in Palestine and goes, "A black woman sent the bomb, wonderful." The 2 leading Democrats, one of which could barely speak or function and stand in public, cared more about saving face than ending the genocide and fighting Trump. If Democrats actually cared about stopping Trump's billionaire agenda, they wouldn't roll out the red carpet for him with a genocide. The solution to Trump or Biden's presidency is not nicer billionaires or bluer millionaires. The solution is that those who run society build society's wealth. We, the workers, are the ones who should run the country. Workers have built the world, and workers should run the world. I've been working on this campaign with the UU Eco-Socialist Network to turn PG&E into a nonprofit. And one of the things that we were talking about the other day is if you ever drive in like Northern California, out in the middle of nowhere, there'll be some big mountain that you could never walk up or climb up, and you'll see clear-cut trees and a power line that goes right through it. And I can guarantee Patricia Poppy never was ever around that. It was the workers who did that insane thing. It's the workers who established these things. It's the workers who deserve to run them. If you were to go to a PG&E board meeting and say, "Hey, how do you install that thing?" they wouldn't know. If you were to ask the worker who installed it, they would absolutely know. And therefore, they should manage it. So in this way, we do have different goals. The goal of capitalist production, which is the Democrats and the Republican way of thinking, is to make as much profit as quickly as possible. This is a murderous goal that has destroyed the planet and people. The alternative goal of a socialist economy is to meet the needs of people in the long term and in a sustainable fashion. People's need versus people's greed. Insatiable greed is wiping out the planet. Insatiable greed has given us 2 options that Rosa Luxemburg taught us: socialism or barbarism. Our current capitalist system is based on the annihilation of the planet, our entire basis of existence. Therefore, socialism is more than an ethical necessity, it's a historical material necessity if we hope to even continue life on Earth. To claim that another world is possible, after all, is not the same as claiming that another world is absolutely necessary. This necessity is also made most clear through the capitalist-induced climate crisis. Trump has been chanting like, I forgot her name, "Drill, baby, drill." What was her name? Sarah Palin. Ooh, that stings when you say that name. Drill, baby, drill. But I want you to know the Biden and Harris administration signed off on more oil deals than any president did before them. Also, funding a genocide is probably the least green thing you could possibly do. To avoid excessive warming, as well as the many severe environmental threats produced by capitalism, it is necessary to shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy and to end the genocide in Gaza. But the capitalist class, Biden, Harris, and the Republicans, is driven to protect its investments in coal, oil, and gas, as well as the associated industries. They will do whatever it takes to hold power, even if that means destroying much of the world. The struggle to adapt and mitigate the impacts of global warming is therefore a class struggle. It is a struggle for power, not a struggle over morality or individual consumer choices. Buy a reusable water bottle. All people are not equally responsible for climate change. Let me say that again. The climate struggle is a class struggle because it is a struggle for power. The ruling class, the class currently running the show, are using state power to enrich the few at the expense of our entire planet and our species. To fix this, the working class must take power back and organize society around the mutual well-being of all people and our planet, instead of around profit. Planning for the people versus planning for more profit. Symptoms, like Donald Trump, are the observable effects of a deeper problem. Root causes are the underlying reasons that lead to these symptoms. Symptoms are usually visible and immediate. Whack-a-mole. You'll see the symptom and you'll whack it down. I have diabetes, and so if I have low blood sugar, you could address the low blood sugar, but that doesn't address the diabetes. You have to address the diabetes, not just the low blood sugar. That's also why some of these people call these ideas that I'm saying radical, which just means to get to the root of things. And the root is capitalism, moneyism. Promoting the well-being of the planet and all beings shouldn't be understood as radical or scary in my mind. It's actually just an ancient Buddhist prayer. May all beings be well. It's also deeply connected to the Unitarian Universalist tradition. The Universalist side of our tradition is about the universality of love and compassion extended to all. We could build an entire society around this ethic. It's called communism, and socialism is the pathway there. We cannot stop capitalists like Musk from destroying the world with petitions begging him to act better. We cannot stop capitalists like Trump with you the vote for a different capitalist. Mutual aid potlucks taking care of each other, great, won't stop the billionaires. Calling your senator's office who've already been bought out by big oil, won't stop the big oil. Marching on Market Street's fun, but it won't intimidate a capitalist. Documentary screenings won't. Eating local food won't. Taking shorter showers won't. Eating less animals won't. Building independent working class organizations to train, educate, and give firsthand experience in the struggle for a socialist seizure of power to bring about the beloved community we so desperately deserve has historically proven to be the only effective tool in dismantling the most vile system to ever exist. And when you say something that intense, you have to back it up with a quote from Martin Luther King. We must recognize that we can't solve our problem now until there is a radical redistribution of economic and political power. This means a revolution of values and other things. We must see now that the evils of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism are all tied together. You can't really get rid of one without getting rid of all the others. You could whack a mole, but how are you going to get rid of all? The whole structure of American life must be changed. America is a hypocritical nation, and we must put our own house in order. 1967. In this way, we are organized and serious about making social change. Anything else isn't taking the task at hand seriously. Whack-a-mole resistance isn't serious strategy. We must recognize that repeating the same actions over and over is not making progress. It's especially not making progress at the scale necessary for transformation of society, especially for one to be centered on planetary health instead of profit. Don't get me wrong, it feels good to whack a mole, but it doesn't contribute to the larger transformation of society in any long-term material way. For example, whack-a-mole resistance will get you DEI programs, but not Black liberation. As an Apple employee, you'll learn how to give a land acknowledgement about the importance of hiring more diverse staff. all the while sourcing products from the child worker slaves in the global south. DEI will get you more colorful faces in the places of exploitative power. It won't nurture collective liberation from the rotten capitalist system. Again, I say, philosophers have interpreted the world. The purpose of Unitarian Universalism is to change it. Now, there's no pretending Trump is way worse than the blue capitalists. But if our analysis doesn't critique the underlying system, the machine that all these whack-a-mole clowns are in, we'll continue playing whack-a-mole, never making any progress except for a really high score. The goal is to defeat the entire game, not make a high score. Unplug the system. We've got to unplug the entire whack-a-mole system to truly defeat the game. If the culprit is capitalism, the solution is socialism. We cannot defeat socialism or capitalism by voting blue, donating time or money to the Sierra Club, or marching in circles with poster boards with great slogans. These are just disparate and divided movements. They all lack a unified intentionality. They have proved themselves incapable of succeeding and taking power back for the working class. Socialism, aka really deep democracy carried to all aspects of life, can only be achieved by a mass movement of millions of people organized to fight for what is rightfully theirs. We, the people of the United States, desperately need and deserve a new government and a new system run by the multinational working class and their interests. The struggle to defeat capitalism and begin building a socialist society is the most pressing issue faced by humanity today. And to close out, what are we as socialists fighting for? A world where everyone has quality public housing, clean drinking water, solid public transit, a fabulous education system, healthy local foods, clean powered energy, a brilliant local Unitarian church for all, and comfy clothes for all. We're fighting for the well-being of all people. We're not fighting for profits. We're fighting for the planet. And it's our faith that calls us to this good trouble. Let's get to work.